Today in the Nerdy Gritty, developers are asked, if you could tell gamers one thing about game development, what would it be?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I'm Dez.
I'm Fox, and today I have our intro.
You have your intro. In fact,
and I've been
you've been
talking
excited
about it
this.
for days.
Yeah, you've been so excited about it. Okay, what do you got?
A couple of my two best friends growing up. We talk a lot.
Yep.
We're good friends. Talk about video games a lot.
Your two best friends growing up, imaginary and friend.
Yep. Yep. I'm just creating this facade. No, we were talking, and I was sent a text on Friday.
Was it confirming that Christina Tatro still uses the Zac Efron cutout?
No, this is better. It says, Fox, this is an intervention. You need to dump Dez. I mean, look at all these Game Award prediction stats.
Oh, no.
And I said,
oh, no.
And I said, it's true. The guy's just an idiot. And I expected it to end right there.
Uh-oh.
No. I got a spreadsheet.
What? They made a spreadsheet
Chris
for us?
Wax, who I confirmed I'm okay to use his name, he sent. He has a spreadsheet.
Why?
It's a fairly simple spreadsheet, but it has some good info on it. And I was like, this is amazing. I will absolutely be bringing this up the next time we record. Then he launches into an explanation for me. So here's what Chris said. Prepare to be shamed on the internet.
Okay.
Your batting average, this is said to me, your batting average in picking the right game was a strong 409. That's a pretty solid batting average.
That's a solid batting average.
Yeah. You were penalized by bringing up categories that you didn't submit guesses for. Your weighted batting average is batting average without these categories.
Right.
You get half credit for correctly predicting that Far Cry 5 would not win. My overall pick selection is 614 and 108 respectively.
All right.
Which takes into account the difficulty of making the pick. I don't know how that factors in, but this is the I respect.
Takes into account the difficulty.
I trust his judgment. Dez.
Yeah, all right. No. Okay. Sure. Whatever.
And your WAR winning picks above replacement is 1.6 and negative 3.1.
I'm going to stop you right because I don't give a crap about anything else other than he's purposely bringing baseball stats into all of this. No. Your WAR is wins above replacement, just so you know.
Yeah, that's
your
what he
weighted
just said.
batting out. You guys, okay. You're enticing me with your baseball stats.
Hold on. Fox, you're better than average, while Dez is the literal Chris Davis of game guessing. He should know what that means. I don't, but I'm hoping you feel shame right now.
It's not bad.
This opportunity to use baseball terminology, he gave me the opportunity to use baseball terminology to shame you in the area of video game knowledge.
Yeah, good job.
Merry Christmas to me.
Thanks. Does he have my stats? I want to know.
Oh, that's what he told me. That's
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let me look at this. Batting average, 409 for me, 091 for you.
Ooh, that hurts.
There it is.
That Mendoza line, though.
Nope. Then there's one more thing. So then later, a couple of days, yesterday actually, we were talking about Smash Brothers.
Right.
And I just kind of brought up some of my predictions for who the DLC fighters are gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, Sora, I think, and we talked about Solaire from Dark Souls, I think, being
right.
an unexpected one. The Doomslayer. I'm going to go with Yuna from Final Fantasy X, because I think being able to bring in summons for attacks would be really cool. And then the response I got was, what are Dez's predictions so we know what not to expect? So that's my intro, shaming you.
Shaming me
on
for
being
my
able to
Game
guess
Award predictions.
Game Award predictions.
You know, I don't actually mind because you know why? Other than the ones that I felt really confident in, like God of War winning Game of the Year and things like that, I purposely tried to go for some things that I thought would like throw. Like,
also,
obviously,
here's the thing we have to remember: just like the Oscars or the Emmys or the Tonys, sure, it's recognizing some real strong talent and real strong work, but it's literally just a industry awards night.
Yeah,
There's obviously no like inherent value It is simply people's opinions, and if yours disagree, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it really is.
So yeah, I hope you feel shamed.
Although it was funny because I sent you a message mid-game awards that said Red Dead Redemption is winning more than it deserves.
It won equal to
and then
God
it didn't
War.
win another award for the rest of the night. And I was like, like I literally expected that because it won. It was all but one thing that it was nominated for up till that point.
Yes.
And I expected that to be the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And then it didn't win anything else. And afterward, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad for you guys now.
Overall, I think all the picks were they made sense.
Yeah. No, there were some
sense.
good choices.
I wasn't surprised that Spider-Man didn't win anything. Like I said in our prediction show, it really didn't do anything to be amazing or rise above in any specific category. Everything else did all the individual things better. Spider-Man was just an overall great game.
Oh, I mean, and the past couple of years, we have just been like rich.
Oh, yeah.
Great
The video game
games.
developers have been showering us with treasures and blessings.
Yeah.
Than we can handle.
I'm worried one way or the other that either one way, like 2017 and 2018 are just going to be these anomalies, and we're going to get back to very average gaming.
I don't think so.
I'm even like I'm just as worried that this is the theme now, and every year we're going to have so many absolute quality.
Why are you worried? That's
games
an amazing
because I want to experience all of these games, but I am but a man.
I mean, I experience all of them in some way, mostly. Like, even if it takes me a year or two.
Yeah, you have 0 children.
It's true. Even if I did, though, I'd really just ignore them. Yeah.
Man. All right. Well, hey, what have you been up to lately?
Well,
Fox?
obviously, I've been playing Smash Brothers out the wazoo.
Right. You've been exclusively.
I've been
playing
smashing
Smash
all of the brothers.
Yes. You punched my brother. And I was okay with
take that. Once again, take that, TJ.
we're
smashing on TJ a lot.
We're referring this episode to a lot of conversations that we had while recording Kingdom Hearts 2, but those episodes won't come out until like 2019 sometime.
They're part of the Des and Fox cinematic universe.
Oh yeah, you got to watch everything.
You got to watch everything
to understand all of it. But like, you guys aren't even going to understand these references until the future. You're going to have like reverse referential.
That's even better.
Yeah,
it's like the Flash going back and talking to Bruce Wayne in Dawn of Justice, and it not making sense potentially until a later movie.
Exactly.
Except this will actually work.
But in that,
no. Except for that, it's stupid.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
And this is probably also.
Yeah, well, it is stupid because it's me and you. But so anyway, Smash Brothers, it's great. Obviously, I don't really need to talk about it a lot. It's pretty much perfection. Like, it is the ultimate Smash Brothers. My favorite thing, one of my favorite things so far.
Wait. That's its title.
Whoa! One of my favorite things so far is that one of the Pokemon you can get out of Pokeball is Exeggutor. Alolan Exeggutor.
Okay.
And he just shows up and does nothing else. And he just blocks you from getting, like, he's just a new wall. And it's the best because he's just standing there with a stupid grin on his multiple faces.
See, I would want it to be Alolan Exeggutor, but, like, his head is off the screen at the top.
Yeah, it really should be, no matter how tall it is.
Idiotically tall. Yeah, like
no, he's much taller than in any of the in any of the other games.
Yeah,
like they have jacked up how tall he is. Maybe it's even they might change it for specific levels too. I'm not sure.
Which, by the way, and I'm just gonna toss this out right now. Until recently, I've always said Executor. Because he's like
yeah, and then there's
executor. Execute and executor.
I'm fine with both. Yeah,
Executor. But I hear more people say executor. Like that's
really
that's the way I hear other people say it as well.
Okay.
And so I have changed it because of the way I hear everybody else say it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, tell us how to pronounce Pokemons.
Right.
Those Pokemans.
The pocket monsters.
Yeah.
So it's obviously great. I've only unlocked I think 26 of the fighters out of 74 so far.
74 for now.
I've got so much work to do.
Man,
I haven't even done any spirit mode yet because I want to record that, but I also want to get all the fighters and play online and do all the things. So it's just so much in it.
Potentially, Fox and I will be going to
a tournament next week.
Smash tournament
for
next
you guys
week.
tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And this one I'd actually play in.
Yeah.
Because it's for Ultimate and not for Melee.
I would be really excited to see how this goes for you.
Oh, I'll be bad.
And for
I will lose
everybody else
immediately.
there.
I will lose immediately.
Man, I want to play you. I want to play as somebody who is good at Smash.
Yeah.
But has never played this one before against somebody who maybe not as good as Smash.
Yeah.
But has played this one a lot. I want to play you and see how that goes.
Also, to bring this up, yesterday I had my first 2 online wins in just quick play, and they were both with characters I had literally never played before, Pit and Sonic.
Can you like randomize what character you're gonna fight as?
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, there's always been a random fighter.
No, I mean like in online. Can you be like just random, like, choose for me as I'm going into the round?
Maybe. There's a lot of rule possibilities. They have clearly paid attention to how the community plays the game.
Yeah.
And so there's a million different rule variants, and then you can just have your own set of rules, create your own room, and if people like that rule set, then they'll play,
That would be super fun if there was
if it's just random character matches.
Like, no matter what,
they do have a system now where the stage will transform into a different stage halfway through the match.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you got to select them, but
yeah.
So it's very possible. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, have been watching a lot of Christmas stuff.
Ooh.
And, I have
like
kids.
Hallmark
and
movies?
So we go back. So, I mean, what I want to bring up today specifically is an animated movie that I watched. It's like a 4-kids movie called The Magic Snowflake.
Okay.
And
is it made by right-wing political people?
Yes, and it's about a kid who needs everything to be perfect just for him because he's a unique individual.
It's calling Santa a magic snowflake
because
he gives out free presents to everybody like a socialist.
Like a socialist
commie.
No, so here's the premise of it. First of all, it was very good. It's a kid. You got to expect that it's a kid's movie. Like, it's very good for what it was trying to be.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun. I laughed. It was feel good. It could be my new favorite feel good Christmas movie.
All right.
Like, Christmas movie that specifically exists just for the sake of feeling good.
Yeah.
Like, Elf is a better...
Those warm Christmas feels.
Yeah. Elf is a better Christmas movie in comedy.
Oh, sure. But
it's
not
but
necessarily...
Just for those warm Christmas fuzzies, this movie was really good. But here's the premise of it. Santa Claus has an extended life, but still a life. Like,
he's not immortal.
Of his life. He's not immortal.
Oh,
maybe Santa becomes immortal. I don't know. They didn't really address that, or maybe he has just
deep Santa
here's what it is. Anyway, there's deep Santa lore.
Interesting.
And Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, at a certain point in their life, choose a child that is going to become the next Santa Claus.
The chosen one.
And they kind of raise this kid. It's typically an orphan.
Oh.
And they raise this kid to become the next Santa Claus. And then that kid becomes Santa at like 7. And that Santa retires.
What?
And then the kid becomes Santa. Like 7-year-old is when Santas start.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And it's because, it's the childlike glee that is of making toys and whatever.
Yeah.
And like the designing of the toys isn't mechanical. It's like you draw the picture and you say what you want and you put it in the magic machine and it spits out the toy.
And
like
so
Star Trek. And so the whole thing is just like a lot of, again, childlike glee and joy and whatnot. But so there's the next Santa that's coming. His name is Nicholas, of course. And as in Saint Nicholas.
Typical.
But Nicholas is going to be the next Santa, and Santa current leaves. He retires. He's going to move to Australia. I think he and his wife
are
doing.
Of course.
And the problem is that Nicholas starts stressing out too much about it and freaking out about it, and he starts treating it too much like a job.
Oh.
And the magic
at 7 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
The magic that maintains Santa is in the magic snowflake, and the snowflake begins to melt.
Oh, snap.
And it's pretty cool because, like,
you got me hooked.
Yeah. They do some good things, like, again, it seems kind of arbitrary and like silly almost, but they present it so well. So, like, he has another girl that's helping him, and my guess is that's like his potential betrothed Mrs. Claus.
In the sequels.
Right. But she'll be trying to help, and he's like, no, stop it, no. And then finally, like, his voice just deepens, and it's like a man's voice, and he says, go to your room.
Oh, snap.
And then the whole thing like just rumbles, and it's like
what?
Like grown up things happen, and like
all right,
it's really cool. Yeah, and it's really good, and other things happen in it.
Is this a Netflix original?
I don't know if it's Netflix original, but
it's on Netflix. Okay.
Yeah. And no, it was really cool. It was really fun. It goes into like what the other Santas are doing at the time. They have to like, because there's retired Santas, and so they need help, and so they like ring the emergency bell, and it brings in all the living Santas that are. Well,
it's like it just sounds like an episode of Doctor Who.
It is kind of like that, yeah.
Somehow all the other Doctor Who's come back, even though they shouldn't have been dead.
Yeah, so it's going to be Christmas soon, and if you guys are of the Christmas store, obviously you guys know Fox and I as Christian pastors, we are the Christmassy type. If you guys Christmas, go watch that movie. It's a really good movie. Sure. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But something that transitions from Christmas movie to game development.
Well, no, I mean, we could, I would clearly Super Smash Brothers. This has got me thinking about it. Like, Smash Brothers developers, what's his name? Sakurai.
Yeah.
Masahiro Sakurai.
Yeah.
Overarching developer, creator of Smash Brothers, is very good at paying attention to what people want.
Too good.
He literally makes himself sick with the stress he puts himself under making these games, but it turns out great. And we recently saw, you sent me a tweet regarding, like, kind of a tweet thread regarding this kind of idea of developers listening and talking to fans and whatnot. So we should get down to the nerdy gritty right here.
Absolutely.
And just kind of go into we have a question, or there was a question asked.
So here's what I'll preface this a little bit. This was on a public forum, and so we are going to try and attribute quotes to people, but we'll probably just use Twitter handles, I think, because we didn't get approval.
I have their name on Twitter and their Twitter handle.
Okay. So we didn't get approval from anybody.
Whatever their public information is. Yeah. You don't need approval if it's just on Twitter.
Right. So, but we just want to let you know that we're going to try and credit as many people as possible here, but we didn't talk to anybody to do it. Just an FYI. Anyway.
Yes.
So, at Emily Buckshot just posted a question. She is a game developer, and she posted, if you could tell gamers one thing about game development, what would it be? And it just began this huge thread. And it was like, for people who love video games, it was really interesting to read through for the two of us. And so we picked out some of the things that we really wanted to discuss, some things that I, honestly was like, man, I need to think about their offense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and other ones I was like, I think you might be making excuses there.
Really?
You saw, things like that.
Things that I saw were things that I complain about. Like, a lot of it was like, yeah, I know that, but seeing somebody actually say it and seeing multiple people say it, I was like, oh yeah, it actually affects, like, a lot of. So let's get into a couple of the ideas.
So I'll let you start off, Fox.
Okay.
What's the first one you got here?
One thing that I think I have a problem with, or it's similar to like writing a movie or something, where so his name on there is Jake with an exclamation point. So Jake.
Yeah, his name is Jake
at Spriteborn. That's his Twitter handle. Whatever idea you just thought of, we also thought of that, and there are probably very good reasons why we didn't do it that way.
So that was one of the ones that honestly, I was one of those that I was like, okay.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, so, and there's two sides to this. In fact, as I'm thinking about it, these are developers, not writers. Because what you and I complain about a lot is the writing.
Yes. And I complain about the script. And,
how you and I, we'll say things like, hey, you could have included one sentence, literally one sentence, and it would have helped your entire narrative.
Or just put this cutscene somewhere else.
Right. And so to just offhand say, look, we've already thought of that, and it didn't work.
No. I mean, no. Yeah. But we're talking about here.
These are developers.
These are developers.
Okay,
and I mean, writing goes into development. Actually, the multiple jobs and the different people involved and all the different moving parts is something else that comes up later.
Right.
In what I have. But that is something I struggle with. Like, why did you do it this way? Why didn't you just and it just makes it sound like the issue is I make it sound much more easier than it is.
Oh gosh.
Like, guys, why didn't you just do this? Said the guy who has never ever developed a video game and knows nothing about the process.
I have like minimal knowledge of computers and things like that.
I've used RPG Maker to make an RPG.
And even I know in my minimal knowledge, sometimes two programs just won't work together.
Right. I mean, that's just won't. Computers.
Yeah,
computers are jerks.
And so there will be times in which like we can be like, why didn't you just do this? There's this other game that does it great. It's like, we tried, you monsters.
How dare you?
It doesn't work. Okay, why doesn't it work? I don't know, because we hate you. Like,
because shut up. Well, yeah, because something you have to think about, and it's something that, like I said, comes up later, and we're definitely going to be kind of crossing over into different topics that they brought up. But like one company not doing a thing as well or even doing it at all as another company, like that's not just like, oh, we saw that and didn't want to. It's that company didn't have enough money and couldn't afford that, couldn't afford SpeedTree.
Yes.
They couldn't afford these development tools that made it so much easier for that person to do because they're Rockstar and I don't know their name. There's some dude in their, like there's so many things that go into the process that just saying, why didn't you do it this way is such a unfair question.
It really is.
To ask any individual member.
Unfair, and from two pretentious gamers, honestly uneducated.
You're just a stupid question. Like
we are guilty of it,
idiot
and it's
question.
Pretty stupid. Yeah. So why didn't you do it this way? Or and there's another one that I didn't copy down, but so I can't remember who said it, but it was just like, there are no shortcuts. All of those assets, all of those things that we have sitting around.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
But there are big companies that have made dozens of games, or that have worked on games forever, or they have, bought assets, and they're going to have like this treasure trove, terabytes of assets just sitting there waiting to help make games. And then there's going to be smaller companies that just don't have that.
Right, but at the same time, for that big company with a treasure trove of assets that they already have, then you just face the opposite problem of, oh, this is just what they already made.
Yeah.
Like, you're just complaining that it looks too similar to what you're like, what do you want from us? I'll kill you.
With Assassin's Creed and
look,
Tomb Raider. No.
Look, okay.
Nope.
I have to put a caveat in here. Sometimes complaints are okay.
Yep.
That was the most dismissive yup I've ever heard. You did not even look at me. You were looking at your computer. It didn't matter what I said in that moment.
You know what? On that note, though, and I'm going to jump around here. That does take me to one of the ones that I wrote down. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. Thomas Kelleher says, we actually read and care about the forum posts where you say no dev is ever going to read this because they don't care about us anymore. And then in response to that, there's another one, Kuro Dark Eyes, at Kuro Dark Eyes says, feedback that is read or acknowledged doesn't always result in change.
Sure.
So to me, there's a lot of times when I'm like, clearly gamers hate this. Clearly gamers aren't happy with the way this is turning out. If you read the forum posts, if you read all this other stuff, and they're not doing anything about it. And the reality is, you know what? They probably read it, have tried stuff, are doing what they can, and just have nothing to say yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna make some comparisons to our jobs here. Obviously, they're very different industries,
right?
But I've gotten in. I am a small groups pastor in charge of different types of Bible studies and whatnot at our church, and I get a lot of times, oh, we should have a singles group, or we should have. I'm not trying to call people out. I'm not trying to belittle. What I am saying is that there is a lot more that goes into it.
Yes,
the idea is great. And generally, I support your idea.
Right.
But there's so much that goes into doing something like that when it doesn't happen, or maybe even not in the time frame you wanted, that it's hard to hear you don't care.
Yeah. You hear everything. You may not respond to it.
Yes.
You may not do anything about it. And people may think, Fox, I try to make a recommendation to Fox and Pastor Fox, and he's not doing anything at all. Right. And it's like, no, guys,
yeah.
I've done everything I can. Really.
Yeah, and it's obviously the same way here. I could have 100,000 ideas for the next whatever game, and they might hear every single one of them, love half of them, and try to get one of them in there and fail, because they can't. And me not knowing all of that is just saying, wow, you guys suck. Okay, I feel like they have just. I feel like there's a lot of rage in the industry, or just impotent rage, where they want to do this and they can't, and then they get yelled
other
at
people,
for not doing it.
And other people getting mad at them for it.
Yeah.
All right, you're up.
Okay.
What's your next one?
This was a good one for. Let's see where to go. Nope, that's not it. Oh yeah, here we go. Maria Rosso, at Maria Rosso. Individual developers don't do this for the money. The U.S. industry, U.S. is in quotes, is centered in the highest cost of living areas in the country, and devs make less in games than they would for the same position outside the industry. We are all suckers who work in games because we love it.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to make put a big disconnect. There's a disconnect between the company and the people who are making the game.
Yep.
Because, and this is, you have to admit, the gaming industry is there. It's a money-making industry. People are trying to make money. Now, that doesn't divorce them from the idea of making really good games and wanting to make really good games.
Right.
But generally, QA guy, QA tester, Joe, he loves his job. He's not in there to be a millionaire at that point. Like, maybe someday he'll get up in because he really loves it. But right there, he is doing what he loves to do and doing it for not a lot of money. And very likely, as this makes a really good point, living in an area where he needs to, like, with
4 roommates in a one-bedroom apartment.
In a tiny apartment because he just loves doing this.
And that's such a huge thing because even when there are bad games or there's shovelware, and we know this stuff comes out, and we say, "Gosh, these people worked on this," and they know they're just doing this to money grab. They know they're just, but the company is probably doing that, but the individuals are there, and they're like, "No, I want experience because the job that I really want says I need 3 years of experience.
Yes,
and so I'm going to work wherever I can get this experience to go do stuff." And like, it's just this like catch-22 of that. Like, it happens a lot in the serving industry where if you want to be a waiter at a fancy place, you need to have years of experience.
Add some crappy.
But if you have to get experience, but to get hired, but you can't get hired because you don't have experience.
Right.
And so you have to go somewhere crappy for a little while. And game devs suffer exactly that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to work at a place that is honestly not great and is gonna make some shovelware, but they need the experience to make what they want to make.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and you gotta recognize that they are doing what they love.
So
despite possibly being able to make more money in another tech industry.
Yeah. Again, another big one.
It's a big industry, and if they're doing this, it's not for the money.
Yes. If they have that kind of computer knowledge, they could take that a lot of different 100%.
Places. Yes.
@andravna says, game dev is still just a job. With meetings, deadlines, bosses, and office politics. It has ups and downs, and as a relatively new industry, far fewer of the downs have been ironed out, which is why the outlying ups are focused on. And that last couple of phrases is what I really want to focus on in this one. As a relatively new industry, far fewer of the downs have been ironed out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just so true. We often forget so much how young video gaming is.
For an artistic and entertainment medium, 40 years is such a short amount of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The fact that there are human beings alive today that have experienced the creation,
the birth of the entire medium,
and have experienced the entirety of it.
Yes.
That's outrageous.
Right.
And so it's so young, especially as an industry. Like, as a big industry, it's been half that time.
Right.
It's a huge money-making industry. It's been maybe 20 years, 30 years. And so there's this mindset that, look, you guys are, Naughty Dog. You're Rockstar. You have all the money in the world. You should figure this out by now. It's like, look.
What?
There's no amount of money that can just solve inexperience. And every single one of us are inexperienced right now because this is just a new industry. The industry itself is still learning.
Right. And if you want it to grow to a place where it can become more streamlined and better, then you have to recognize that it is a business. And these things are like, it can't just be a bunch of dudes hanging out in their basement making a game.
Right.
That's a thing still. And that was a thing in the early days.
I mean, you got like Undertale.
But you will not get Red Dead Redemption 3 if you don't recognize that there is a business side to it.
Right, and you will not get Kingdom Hearts 4.
Well, you won't get it.
That's the end of my statement.
It's not
in
your lifetime.
Dead. Your grandchildren might.
Your grandchildren will get an a release date announcement on their deathbed.
Yeah.
So you got to recognize that it's not just like people do it because they love it, but that's not enough to sustain an industry like this.
Right.
If from both an artistic and development viewpoint,
even from another
business viewpoint,
relatively young industry like movies.
Right.
They've had like triple the time. To be
able
it's
like
to get all this stuff going.
15 years now that it's really been like people have made movies for artistic and not just like a scientific, technology kind of thing.
Right.
Like, people have made it for more than just the.
And there's still things that we're figuring out with movies.
Oh,
like
sure.
Today there's still movie controversy. Like games are gonna struggle with this type of stuff for a long time.
They are.
And we have to accept it.
Yeah, art is always going to evolve, especially when it collides so heavily with business.
Agreed.
Carl Muckenhaupt. Let's go with that. Carl M. Deadlines are the devil. Whenever you see something poorly done and you think the devs are lazy or the devs didn't care, it's more likely that the devs wanted to make it better but were contractually obligated to ship what they had.
That is one that I've actually been complaining. I'm not a dev in any way, shape, or form.
No,
but one that I have been aware of and complained about for a long time is, and there's another comment, again, just one that I remember reading that I didn't cite here, that was saying your guys's pressing, like gamers pressing to get the game released on time,
right,
helps make those deadlines, and that pushes games out faster than they're ready to be pushed out.
Right.
You complain about day one patches. Well, at that point, you literally have a choice: day one patch or delay.
Yeah.
You can't, or you can have a broken game. Like, do you want a broken game?
Right. If you just don't, if you just want the game right now, well, okay, enjoy. Then you're just going to complain about something else. Yeah. I think a problem here is that the audience, including myself, will never be fully satisfied.
Right.
There's always something we want to complain about. We'll recognize great. But there's always something that I'm a little disappointed by and which could be better, which is forgivable sometimes. But in the area of, well, this game is being delayed again, must be terrible. That is illogical. They're working on making it better by delaying it, and B, just like petty to me. Like, you don't deserve this game. Like, this game isn't owed to you.
Exactly.
I mean, you might have pre-ordered it, but that was your choice, man. This game, it is a video game. It is a piece of art. It is not sustaining your life at all. Like, we feel entitled, I think, sometimes as an audience. And when I really want to play a game, I'm really excited about it, and then they delay it again. Oh man, I hate that. Insert developer here.
Here is my metaphor that I use, my parable of,
sure.
of gamers and release points and things like that being petty. It's like a child that comes home to mom making dinner. The child comes home, the child's starving, and it looks at mom and says, "Mom, I want dinner now." And mom's like, "All right, the noodles are cooked, but the sauce isn't ready."
Right.
"I want it now." "Fine, here are some bare noodles. I'll get you the sauce when it's ready." This dinner's terrible. Where's my sauce?
Right.
Okay, fine. Well, next time you're gonna have to wait.
Right.
You're gonna say, "But Mom, you always make me wait." Mom. How about at the end of the day you say, "Hey, Ma, I really appreciate that you're working hard to make me some spaghetti. I love your spaghetti. You make some good stuff. And
sure.
I really appreciate it.
Just
take which time you need to make it, And again, there's immature child and then mature appreciative child. And that's how gamers can be toward developers. We can be immature children, or we can be appreciative adults.
It doesn't mean you can't be disappointed that it got delayed.
Right.
I'm really excited to play whatever game. Dang, it got delayed. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I'll play every other great game that's out right now.
Absolutely.
I've got so many games to play already. I don't need that next one.
If you want your spaghetti to be perfect, you're either going to have to wait for the sauce or settle for some bare noodles.
Right.
And that's the way it's going to be in gaming. If you want your game to be perfect, sometimes you either have to wait for a delay or deal with the game one patch. Trying to shove a game through a deadline, like, that's almost a literal statement, as much as figurative can be literal. Trying to shove a game through a deadline is just going to leave it messed up afterwards.
You know what this thread most gave me a higher appreciation for, aside from some things that, again, this might have, the release of No Man's Sky. I was extremely disappointed by it. I was really looking forward to it for several years, and it came out and it really was pretty disappointing. Mostly compared to my expectations, which isn't fair to them at all, but also compared to some of the things they said would be in it that weren't at the time. I think most of them or all of the things that they promised are in it now, a couple of years later.
Right.
So there's that. But I remember there was a day when they posted on Twitter, Hello Games, who made it, said, I think it was Hello Games. They said, we've gone gold, and they're like holding a CD or whatever. It's like, we're finished the game, cool, or at least. And in my mind, I was like, cool, the game is done. And like that is the opposite. No, that just means they're able to ship this game right now. Like they're able to meet their deadline. And there's a very different connotation for the game is done and the game can meet the deadline.
And that's another situation, and No Man's Sky is a good example where there is a give and take to it.
Sure.
Because No Man's Sky made promises that it didn't keep.
It did not keep the promises, yes.
Really blatant.
That's why, like I said earlier, there are some times when complaining and just being disappointed or like more than that, just saying the dev really didn't do, like, that's fair sometimes.
Right.
When the game doesn't live up to, like, lower our expectations so that when you can meet them more easily. Because if somebody just says, oh, you'll be able to play with your friends in this entire universe, it's fair to expect that you'll be able to play with your friends in this entire universe. That's not an elevated expectations on the audience.
Yeah.
That's just not giving us what you said there would be. Like,
yeah.
And so you're kind of lying, and the money, maybe somebody wouldn't have paid for your game if they knew that wouldn't be in there. So yeah, there is some give and take here. You have another one?
One that was really eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
Understand that anytime you see a blemish, there's probably a dozen more in the exact same moments that got fixed.
Right.
That one just didn't make the cut.
Right.
We see it after it's been taken care of. So, like, we see one mistake, and we don't realize that one mistake was surrounded by 30 others, and 29 got fixed.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one to me that was like, we get to see the finished product. We don't get to see the process of fixing it all. We don't get to see the frustration and the tears and the house of cards that was built, and then realizing, wait, this one card doesn't, and then they poke it and it all just crumbles.
And all kind of collapse.
And so they have to rebuild it, and then they just realize, you know what, that one is just going to have to be that one card that's a little bit off. Like, just that's what we're going to have to deal with. That's going to happen sometimes.
A big an example of this, or maybe not an example of this, but something that kind of demonstrates the fact that I don't think I have an actual tweet that kind of describes this idea. Oh, here we go. Ideas are easy. This is Craig Ritchie from at Sound Interest. Ideas are easy. The amount of hours and thus cost of turning those ideas into games.
By the way, the understanding time to see blemish, that was Paradigm Fallen.
Oh, cool.
Paradigm Fallen. I want to make sure I cited that.
Ideas are easy. The amount of hours and thus cost of turning those ideas into games or gameplay elements exceeds anything you'd expect. Making games is hard and a lot more work than you think. This was kind of something that came up a lot in the context of there are so many moving. If we even remove the business side, which is kind of unfair because it's an entirely new aspect that has to be involved. But even from just the people making the actual game, there are so many moving parts that all have to mesh together so perfectly. You have to have your environment design, your quest design, your dialogue script, your texture creator, your story and your characters, and all of these things have to work together in tiny little ways where there's an article that we want to talk about eventually about the design the door problem or something like that,
right,
where somebody like just the fact that opening a door or just having some kind of door
existing
in your game opens up so many questions, and not just for the on the surface level. It's like, well, I can open a door. Can you? Does the character do this? Does it actually show the person doing it, or does it just open? What happens? Is it a seamless transition in the next room? Is there a loading screen? Can all the doors open? There's so many ideas and questions that affect every single development area, every single department, that when you have a bug, that's not just one guy who was supposed to do this and just didn't really care. That's probably the entire company would have had some kind of hand into fixing that issue. And when you have thousands of bugs, like in a game like Red Dead Redemption or Just Cause, it comes to mind because it just came out, but lots of big, huge open world games that are now basically this industry standard, when you have that happening so much, when one of them, if one of them doesn't make the cut of QA, then be thankful that it's not all of them.
Yes. Be thankful that the million others did make the cut of QA.
Right.
Which I have one that plays on that, unless you have another.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so at Apathy, at V Apathy.
Sure.
V Apathy V.
Okay.
I feel like a broken record at this point, but finding a bug doesn't mean QA didn't do their job.
Yep.
Lazy QA is just not a thing.
It's not a thing.
There's so many factors that go into a bug, making it into public. And then a follow-up to that, at Stevenson Pichon says, I heard a quote from Hearthstone's dev that I loved. Basically, It went like, in the first hour of release, the game will have been played more cumulatively than in dev testing.
Yeah.
And it's just like we go in, because here's the reality with bugs. If some of you guys don't know this, we're going to have all, area of knowledge of listeners. A bug could be that you happen to have that weapon, that armor with that enemy behind you, and you're walking toward that door, and you happen to jump and then press pause. And that exact combination of events is what crashed the game.
Yeah, not just that you press pause, or not just like it wasn't just random. It was because of the sequence of events that you did that may or may not have just been tested.
Right.
Because in games today, like it's kind of us biting our own tail, I think, as an audience.
Right.
I want my game to be Red Dead Redemption, a massive open world, an intricate story, characters I love, unlimited types of weapons and horses and outfits to wear and activities to do. Horse weapons, sure. All of these things, I want all of them, and if they don't work perfectly together, then the game is bad.
Yeah.
No, what you're asking for is far more than we can handle, because you're also asking it for in 2 years.
Yeah.
And that is literally impossible.
Yeah. And so that's why they have, like, sometimes they'll have open alphas or open betas where they'll just, like, let people in, like, look, our game is not ready
bad
yet. But
it's in a bad
state.
state.
To come play the crap out of it so you can see where it's breaking and
I wonder how many times they're like, hey, let's do a beta just so we can show people how much work goes into this.
Right.
Wonder how many times that happens.
Like I actually I betaed I alphaed Sundered.
Yeah.
It's
you were there for the whole process.
Yeah.
As far as what was released
released to it. And it was only on PC before it came out PlayStation 4, but I was gonna get it for the PS4. And so I wanted to play it with a plug-in controller instead of a keyboard. And the down button didn't work.
Yep.
And I didn't even I'm like it was like, hey, I'm trying to do this, but it's not working, and it's just not. I don't know how to spell it. It's like you just push down. I'm like, well, down doesn't work, my friend. And I happen to be the only alpha tester that was playing it on PC with a USB controller.
Wow.
Yeah, and and like I was just like, hey, by the way, your key mapping is not working right now. And those are things that they wouldn't figure out with their team of 8 people or whatever else. Like, I mean, they would probably figure that one out. That one's a pretty big one. But there are little things that they don't figure out with all of their QA, all of their testing, that when the game goes live, it's going to happen in the first hour.
Yep.
You know?
And somebody's going to see it and think lazy
developers. QA. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It's like you have no idea how many hours these human beings put in.
Yeah. We hit a lot of stuff, and I don't have two. I do have one that I think.
I have 3 more.
Okay, you have 3 more. I have one that kind of sums up the whole. I think we want to talk about our response to and how we can make it better. So why don't you go with what you've got?
Okay. The Rob Giusti says, everything takes so much more time than you expect. We don't just sit down and make a game on the first try. Every idea is the offshoot of several others that didn't work.
Right.
Games have a huge amount of room for the devs to fail in order for us to get it right by the end of the development. And so to me, that was a big one. That was basically just saying, like, guys, you want this done. We've talked about this already. Like, you want this done in 2 years and 3 years, but you also want it perfect.
Yes.
And you have to have one or the other. Or you have to be able to wait a long time for this. And so there's so much work that goes into this. So much.
Right, yeah. I know I've often complained about how Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Shadow of the Tomb Raider this year, and a little bit with Just Cause 4, although I like the Just Cause 4
formula
gameplay mechanic more than I like the other two, so I get
a
little more of a pass. But I complain about how they're... Like, my review was not that they're bad because they're similar to the old ones. It's just, that's what they are. Like, I don't blame, like, they are, for better or for worse, Far Cry and Odyssey or Assassin's Creed, which are both Ubisoft games, and I guess like Call of Duty and stuff now, but are kind of the result of fans wanting more.
Right.
And them saying, okay, here you go. And it becoming something of a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Where each game is pretty solid, but nothing really innovative happens each time. And so it's kind of like it's a response to the industry. They've, instead of taking the Rockstar route of doing one game every 7 years, and it turning out to be an amazing 10 out of 10 masterpiece, like new standard archetype of the industry, it's just the new one. It's just the next one.
Right.
And so those, to me, because neither of them are bad, or like there are bad games, sure, but those are kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum as far as the developers responding to what we ask of them.
Or like, here's something that's a little bit humbling for me. Madden. You've kind of reached peak football, like how to play football with a video game.
I feel like they reached that a while ago.
You kind of reached that.
As far as the gameplay.
But these guys, they're still making a game that they love and they want to be good. And so what they do is they try and make it like more immersive and and I don't know if they still release a yearly one. I know that they stopped that for a while.
Idea.
I don't know.
I know like
for a long time,
2K19 and 2K, like those are a thing.
I know for a long time they just released the same, game essentially every single year.
Pretty much.
And those of us who didn't play Madden tease it. It's the same game. They just changed the player, whatever else. And it's like, yeah, we're giving people what they want, though. And guess what? It's not a buggy mess either.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, there might have been examples of buggy messes, but overall, it's just, oh, cool. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
Because they're giving you what you want. If you love playing Madden, then now you have updated rosters. And now, like, I actually kind of appreciate Madden and things like that, or 2K or whatever other game, where they've had to figure out how to make it a more immersive experience. Because people go in just saying, I want to play football. I like this team and I want to play as these characters or these players. And they've had to figure out, well, okay, how do we make people, like, give people a better experience? Okay, well, part of sports, like, it's a fantasy experience still. And there's no dragons or wizards, unfortunately, but it'd be a better football game if there were. But it's a fantasy experience, and what they're saying, like, the person going to play it isn't really saying, I just like football. They're saying, I want to be a football player. I want to be a part of this industry. And so, okay, what else is there? Well, there's the front office. And for somebody who doesn't care, it's like, okay, now it's a paperwork simulator. This is ridiculous. Whoa. But for somebody who likes football, that's a new aspect of now there's like training. And now, which I've really appreciated, I don't know which game it is, but you can start in high school.
Yeah.
And literally follow the career of your player.
Go from NCAA,
like go to college, go to
and
that to me is amazing. That's probably a better RPG than a lot of RPGs that come out. Like, because it gives you a real life concept idea of what it's like. It could be a little more realistic, I think, as far as like the actual like college football industry. I think that would be really cool, but then they wouldn't get the sponsorships and all that. Right. But I really actually have come to appreciate what the innovative, like, I used to be a guy who's like, oh, whatever, I don't care, it's the same thing every year. And now I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like they do a really good job of trying to do. And again, these are devs that are trying to do
These are
good
devs
work.
that are really loving what they do and trying to create a better experience for their audience.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah,
Madden
good
guys.
job, whoever.
Okay.
EA, I think
I have
never said good job EA before, but
weird. I have two more here, but one might be kind of like yours where it's a wrap up.
Yeah, pick your.
So I got 6 Feet Zen. At 6 Feet Zen says 99% of the time you're blaming the wrong person for the feature story, other game element that you dislike.
Yep.
Whole teams work on games, and it's 1,000 different decisions coming into play at once.
Yeah,
that's one that I am guilty of.
100%.
Absolutely, I'm guilty of.
Sean, something or other.
Bean.
Yes, developer at Hello Games. No, Sean, I forget his last name, but he was the guy who basically was the face of No Man's Sky.
Right.
I feel real bad for him.
Yeah.
99% of me feels bad for him because, again, he did kind of promise things that weren't delivered.
97.
But he was he was then the face for everything that No Man's Sky failed to do.
Right.
And he's not the only guy. They were a very small team comparatively. But he's not the only guy. He's not the only one there. No, it was like 10 or 12.
Yeah.
But he was not the only one making that game. Same with like like I feel like it's also on the opposite end of the spectrum. Corey Barlog. Corey.
We are nerds, and so we cannot
every
say
time
his name
it's
without
Corey
saying
Balrog.
Hey, fan artists out there, somebody draw Corey Barlog as Corey Balrog.
Oh, it has to have been happened. Corey Barlog, head guy of God of War.
Mm-hmm.
Probably gets all the praise in the world, and deservedly so. He was definitely, at least he was one of the writers, if not the head writer. So that's a big deal because that game was very well written. But he's not the guy he wasn't the guy who was coding those freaking ridiculous like boss fights.
Yep.
Like those really fun boss fights, or like he is not the guy doing the character modeling of. He's not the voice actor for. He's not Christopher Judge. Like so. We can appreciate them through like Game Awards, but we also have to recognize that this is a team of probably hundreds of people making one game, and not like we can't say on either spectrum it's all this guy because it's good or because it's bad.
Right.
We have to recognize that it is a industry of moving parts.
And one that I'm often reminded of, and we even just talked about this earlier, is when it comes to writing, we say you could have added that line, you could have done this, but at the end of the day, maybe they did, and an editor took it out.
100%, yeah,
or something of that nature. Like there's so many different steps to all of this stuff in which somebody could have done something to change it, and we were probably blaming the wrong person.
Or one change that has really nothing to do with something else makes that thing change.
Yeah.
For example, Red Dead Redemption was delayed, or with that whole 100-hour work week controversy, which if you actually read and see what happens,
it's not quite like
it's not.
that.
It's a couple people who decided to work a couple weeks like that.
Yeah.
Because there was one change, and it was we want to put the black bars at the top and bottom of our cutscenes to make them feel more cinematic, like an old Western movie. But when you've already created that cutscene and positioned your characters in like the pre-rendered, these are not pre-rendered cutscenes. They are in the
game engine.
In the game engine, because they're seamless. Like that changes everything.
Yep.
All of a sudden, there's probably some important cutscenes where a dude is talking and his face is covered up by a black bar now.
Yeah.
You can't have that. So they had to go back and change it all. And so these little it's not just one thing can be fixed by one thing. It works. There's so many moving parts that you have to recognize.
Yeah.
That they go together.
Okay, so I have my wrap-up tweet. You have your wrap-up tweet. What is yours?
So it's actually just one part. Okay, Paul Scott Canavan at a big bat. Every developer wants to make the best game possible. Also, every person who works on a game, from the design department to artists to QA, is a developer. But this last line right here, this job can be hard, okay? Work with us, not against us.
That's a good one.
Like, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially for such an in-demand industry, and we have an opportunity to work with them.
Mine pairs with yours.
Yeah.
At Cardani, someone made each and everything. There's not a rock, bucket, barrel, or straw of grass that has not been crafted by someone who cares about making the best game they can.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like so much of this, like making a game. This isn't a movie where you can go film on location and your set is set for you because you're filming on location. There's no such thing as that in video games. You have to create everything that's being seen in a video game.
Yeah, this is where I think we need to talk about what our response is, or just what can we learn from this as an audience.
Yes. So as guys who are ready to say, or at least a guy, and I'm sure you're in the same place, I won't speak for you though, but as a guy, Des, I'm going to say I've been wrong in a lot of ways.
100%. I'm wrong all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that I've complained about things that I didn't deserve to complain about, and that I've whined about things that didn't deserve to be whined about.
Man, 99.9999% of the times in our videos that I say, oh, I don't like that, this game is dumb, or this game did a bad thing, or they should have done it this way, I was wrong.
Yeah. Well, at the same
and also I'm just kind of raging.
Well, yeah,
I don't mean it every time.
And you and I, we will say that a lot jokingly, and we don't mean it a lot of the time.
Sometimes I do. And most of those times, I would say that there's sometimes, okay, this could have been designed better.
Right.
That doesn't dismiss the fact that it's still a difficult thing to do. Like saying it could have been designed better doesn't make it a bad game inherently.
Right.
We both have to say we've been wrong.
Yeah.
Not everything I complain about is fair to complain about.
So we two gamers, we want to tip our hats to you devs out there.
Sure.
You guys work your tail ends off for our entertainment, and we really appreciate that you guys do that.
Absolutely.
You're great artists.
Here's some action steps, though.
Go ahead.
That I have for us.
Yeah.
Take part in betas. I mean, people do that because they want to play the beta.
Yes.
But also recognize that it's a beta. People, I mean, it was a little different for the Fallout 76 beta, where people played it and were like, oh, this is bad. The problem was that was like a week before the game came out, or 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. And so was it just like a preview? It felt like, it didn't feel like an actual beta where they would take time after it was finished to go fix things. It just felt like a preview of the game because it was just the full game, essentially.
And I think most of the complaints about Fallout that I saw weren't that it was broken. It just wasn't fun.
Well, sure. We could talk about that because I disagree a little bit on that. But when you take part in a beta, and you should treat it like a beta.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just rail against the game. Like if they give you the option, which hopefully they do, submit like bug tickets and stuff.
Yes.
Hey, let them know, hey, I've been having an issue with this. This works really well in Steam a lot. Steam's a really good way for smaller developers to do this. I've seen plenty of times on little like early access games and things, developers directly talking to the audience saying, hey, I've had this issue. And they'll be like, oh, you're the only one. Could you tell us exactly about that? Or, oh, we've had this. You can do this to fix it. Or that's going to be fixed in the next patch coming out tomorrow. Like, and that's really fun to see. But don't treat a beta like it's the game.
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
not. It is a in-work progress. Same with like previews of games. When you watch them, now this is also on developers. Don't give us a preview or whatever when it's not. I don't think you should show us the game. How developers or how a company like advertises their game to people is something we need to talk about at some point because it could change a lot. But just treat it like, oh, that looks like an interesting idea. It might be different.
Yeah.
Don't expect exactly what you've seen every time because games are always a work in progress.
On the idea of on the topic of bugs, like you said already, don't just whine about them. Report them.
Write a bug report.
I promise you, whether it's a beta or not, I promise you, if you Google game bug forum,
yes,
there will be an open forum, and we see right here devs saying, hey, we honestly read those
we
forums.
will look at those.
We don't we may not respond to you, you may not ever know that we read it, but hey, we read them. So do something, guys.
Why wouldn't a company take free QA like that?
So
not just input.
Kindly just go and don't be like, your game is stupid and broken. Go in there and be like, hey, every time I try and do this, this is what happens.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they will be very thankful.
Yeah, they will. They'll appreciate that.
Right.
And guess what? Maybe it takes a few months, but when a patch comes out and it says, hey, we fixed this issue, you can sit there and be like, hey, I helped with that.
Boom. Yeah,
hey,
you were part of that game's development process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one last thing I'm going to bring up from a couple of weeks ago when we talked about review bombs, especially on Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Right.
I think this might be a new reason why I'm against them. Because it seems as like that when you are a review, I mean, you can write whatever you want, but when a review score is lowered because of things that the developers had nothing to do with, then it seems as though you are bashing the developer when Steam just made it cheaper, or maybe even like the higher ups made it cheaper.
Right.
QA guys don't have anything to do with the price of that game. And so like you can be open and honest about things you didn't like, but be fair. Be fair with the game. Be fair.
Yeah. That may be something we revisit someday because I still have thoughts on that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't want to get into that now because a lot of it was that Steam doesn't have competitors, and so you have to communicate to Steam in some way, but Steam's gaining competitors pretty soon here. So anyway, but
Steam has lots of stuff. Yeah, like there's lots of forums and whatnot you can
So anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your support. Yeah. Thank you for listening to us rant on, really complain about ourselves.
Right, yeah, just kind of throw ourselves under the bus for an hour here.
Yeah, so if you guys are people that you identify things that we said, you were like, hey, I complain about that kind of stuff too. Hey, this is your chance right now to be like, oh, I've learned something and I need to kind of be better about that and communicate to your devs a lot more kindly. And, hey, hug a dev today. unless they're like,
unless they don't want that, which is probably it's fairly common. It's an introverted industry, I think.
Thank a dev today.
Yeah, thank you. Send them a nice note.
Yeah. And if you guys are devs, we just want to say again, thank you for dealing and putting up with us gamers.
Thank you for what you do.
Some of us, a lot of us are like Fox and I and are willing to admit when we're wrong. Some of us are really petulant.
Yep.
And we can't apologize on their behalf, but we'll try. Sorry, guys. But other than that, thank you all so much for listening. And always remember that saved games save lives.
See you next week.